This one from Paul Trainer. Hi DF, the Skyrim ray tracing mod got me thinking. Technical issues aside, stylistically, where do you think the limit for improving games by the injection perhaps of ray tracing is? For example, without updating the other graphics, do you think ray/path tracing of some kind would add something to games like Shenmue or Die Hard Arcade? Or do you think aesthetics like these wouldn't be a good match for the technique? Cheers,
Well,
Paul.
in my humble opinion, I still think you can apply these techniques, specifically ray tracing and less so path tracing, to these, even that era of graphics, because a lot of these games back then still had like semblances of like hard shadows in them. Shenmue does. And I think they are also, there's some advertising and like FMV sequences that were made with offline rendering, and that where they were like targets of like the visual idea in the head of developers of that time of what the game looks like, and then they'd bring it to console like Dreamcast or an arcade board, and it would look a little bit different, obviously, because of the constraints of the time. And I think you can still, if you want to add ray tracing to these kind of old games, kind of like we saw with the Super Mario 64, the Mario 64 ray tracing port that we covered from Dario, where you can target like the 90s ray traced look, and you get like a really incredible looking experience then. And I think that's how I would do it for Shenmue. Die Hard Arcade, I guess you could do something similar. I don't even know if that game has lighting, honestly. I don't remember it having lighting.
A lot of those old games don't actually have lighting. I think, I mean, I think stylistically it could work, but I don't think you could apply it to the existing
just like
game.
You'd have to like be actually placing lights at that point. So it would change the game look of the game. But I think for Shenmue you could do it because that has like, that has like the general idea of like a sun and things like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think stylistically is more like, I think back to something like the original Virtua Racing and how amazing that would look done with like path tracing. I don't think you could apply it to the game as it is, but man, like just flat shaded polygons, flat path trace.
Yes.
It's a it's a cool thing. It would look really cool. I actually think it would get a little bit worse in the era that followed with like the early textured games, again, without real working, because a lot of them weren't actually using like real lighting. There's no concept of materials. It's literally just like a monochrome texture with a palette lookup. And that's it. And all the color and lighting is defined by that.
Yeah,
so
right.
There's really nothing you could tap into, I think, to make it work. But, remaking a game with those visual designs and trying to light it with path tracing, I mean, that could look awesome.
Alex, you were away last week when we talked about the work that Pascal Bleacher is doing. Anything to add to that? I mean, because I don't think it quite got through that it's all of the, basically any modern game that this injection could work with, right?
Yeah, I mean,
early days so far, right?
It's still early days, and I did watch the DF Direct, and I did watch that segment. I think you guys covered it really well, and I think getting across to the point that, as John mentioned in there, where it's currently in the video that's shown off, it's just like the base Skyrim assets and the base Skyrim materials, and it even is using things like shadow mapping, which creates issues of its own, where these things are just stepping stones on the way to making, like, you can actually get like pretty much like the Quake 2 RTX style of redo or Portal RTX style of redo with different materials, and getting rid of all those aspects of rasterization that are still in there. It's just a matter of a lot of time having to still be invested into that. It's not released. I think Pascal told me that he's targeting something a couple months from now. Oh, we'll see.
Okay.
So, and I hopefully I'll get an early version of whatever it is so I can cover it before it releases.
Okay, so we actually had a few screenshots from Pascal, and one of them was like the buffers of Control.
Yeah.
But that's already got ray tracing, but it doesn't have path trace lighting.
No. Yes.
How does that work? I'm assuming it would only work on the DX11 version of the game.
No, it actually, he said that screenshot's actually the DX12 version.
What?
So you could inject path trace lighting into a game that already has a huge
amount so it
of
is.
ray trace features.
It's like reshade. Not reshade. It's like it's like render doc. So it is grabbing the entire game and everything that it's doing through DX in that point, and it's a matter of sorting through it all and finding out what it is, and that's the effort. It's all the draw calls and all that. So that has great implications for the future as well. But once again, it's just Question of time. It's a question of time. I think I would love to see it personally in Alien Isolation. It's like that game's already amazing looking. And it's just,
is there any Doom 3 path tracing mods out there yet?
I mean, people have looked on it. There's a person I follow on YouTube who looked at ray tracing Doom 3, and they got a lot in there in terms of like specularity already. But then they were kind of like hitting issues with basically a lot of the game had areas that were dark that were very purposefully, for like to save rendering performance, they would leave those dark areas like devoid of almost texture and model detail. So relighting Doom 3 requires actually making those areas that are perfectly pitch black actually visually interesting to a degree.
Yeah, it would just look ugly, huh?
Yeah, it might just be like flat textures in those areas and not much geometric detail to actually like work with.
That's a good point.
So, I mean, I think people are working on those things regardless of what Pascal was doing. But here for Pascal, I think the sky is the limit. That would have been an amazing pun for Skyrim, actually. Maybe when we do the video, that will be the pun.
Sky.
The tagline pun.
Is the sky the limit?
Is it? I think,
peeking over the rim.
There's so much to see. Yeah, peeking over the rim of Skyrim. John,
sounds awful. A bit labored to me.
I know, yeah.
I had a friend back in the day when that first came out that called it Skyrim. He's like, what do you mean Skyrim? It's Skyrim.
Well, I mean, I think what is the name of that? What is the name of that Icelandic drink? Icelandic milk drink. I think it's called
I can't
Skyr.
say I've had that.
It is called Skyr. It is.
Skyr.
So,
okay.
Yeah,
okay.
It's Icelandic cultured dairy product. Skyr.
I know somebody who referred to FIFA as FIFA. FIFA.
Why not?
I want to play the beta FIFA.